guys. It's me, just waiting for a friend of mine, Steven from California, to join us. There you are.
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Steven, I've been asking some people who, I admire their sobriety, and I wasn't sure, but I said to you, do you think maybe you would want to? When you said yes, I was thrilled. I was honored. And I know you just celebrated not too long ago. So I would love for you to share, your sobriety story, what happened, what it was like for you, and, and where you are now. I would love to, because I have not heard your whole story. So
Okay.
This is going to be fun for me too.
Well, I just celebrated 15 years on September 11th, 2005 is my sobriety date.
Congratulations.
I didn't pick September 11th. That was not like a date I wanted to have, but actually I got sober on the 10th, but I went into my first meeting on the 10th, and then that night I smoked my last joint.
Okay.
So I can't really count the 10th.
All right.
So yeah, to be honest, I didn't want AA. The only thing I knew about AA was what I saw through movies and how hokey and cheesy it all seemed, with holding the hands and people crying in a circle and stuff like that. So when I was presented with the invitation from a friend of mine that day to go to a meeting, I was like a little kind of hesitant because, I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was also ready for something completely different, because I was truly, truly done with the life that I was living at the time. And at the time, before I got into the program, where I was at was pretty much homeless. I didn't have anywhere to really live. I was bouncing from friend to friend, hookup to hookup, just trying to find a place to live for a year and a half before I got sober. And that got tiring. People got tired of me, keep coming back to their house and stuff like that. And I was in a meth addiction at the time, and that's the addiction that I crossed the line with. I was doing fine until I met meth, and then my life just went downhill from there. I started doing things that I told myself I would never do. I became the person that I told myself I'd never become. And in high school, I always knew that I was just looking forward to becoming 21 so that I could drink. Like, it wasn't something like I was going to avoid. It was definitely something that I was going to try and have fun with. I did it to fit in. Everybody else was, drinking when we would go to high school events, like overnight high school events, wrestling tournaments, whatever. There was alcohol there, and I wanted to fit in. I knew at an early age I was gay. I didn't let anybody else know that. So I needed to do whatever I needed to do in order for people to like me. That kind of behavior stemmed back from when I was younger. I had a best friend growing up. I knew I was gay then. I had come on to him one day after swimming in the pool, and he went from being my best friend to my worst enemy like that. He turned on me, and it was my fault. And I know that now after doing work around it. For the longest time, I was like, why am I being bullied? For 2 years after that, by my best friend and his friend, they would bully me. They pulled my pants down in front of everybody at a football practice one time. It was humiliating, and call me queer, faggot in the hallway in school every day. I had to endure that. And then so that's kind of set in motion this kind of mentality that I needed to try to get people to like me, because I knew I had a secret, and I knew that secret could make you not like me. So so I started drinking with them, and then at age 21, I came out, and it just became about all the party drugs. I loved weed. I smoked weed for every day until I was 17 years old, until the day I got sober. It was the last thing I did, like I said. But when I turned 21, that's when cocaine came into the picture. That's when all the club drugs came into the picture: ecstasy, Special K, GHB, and I made it until about 25 with those drugs, managing those drugs, selling those drugs, and just being kind of the life of the party. Like I really was kind of the life of the party. But then when I met my first boyfriend, who was heavily into crystal meth at the time, he was a porn star from Los Angeles, and I was living in Florida at the time. I met him, and he introduced me to crystal meth and HIV all in the same night. And yeah, he, again, I've worked around this. I used to blame him a lot for not disclosing he claims he didn't know. I kind of feel like he knew, he didn't want to tell anybody based on certain things that have happened after he found out that I was positive.
Okay.
I had found out I was positive shortly into our relationship. I had gotten tested. I found out I was positive, and he just made it look like I was the one that gave it to him. And so when I found out that I was positive, that was something that I was absolutely avoiding the entire time that I had come out. Like I was like, I do not want to catch this. I don't want to catch this. I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I found that out, I just took I went downhill and with meth, and I just didn't care. And I didn't love him, and I was with him. And he moved us out here to Los Angeles because that's where he was from. And I was with him for 9 months. We moved out here in, I want to say April, and in June he died of AIDS. The decline was right then and there, with him dying, me being left out in Los Angeles with nobody, not knowing anybody, not having a job.
How old were you at this time, Steve?
That was 25.
Okay.
Around 25, 26 years old. Yeah. And, and I'm 45 now.
Because I'm 40.
I'm going to be 46 at the end of this month. So, so yeah. And it was just a slow decline. I took on his occupation, and I was selling drugs. I was selling drugs through the mail. And eventually the people who I was selling them to got caught. And eventually my name was dropped. I got taken in. I lied to the cops. I ran for my life. And that became like, the cops were really after me. People think the cops are after them. The cops were really after me. So I needed to start to live under the radar. And I did. And I lived in a house full of other addicts who we had no electricity. We ran off of a gas powered generator that would go out every few hours, and we'd have to refill it up with gas. And it was then that it started to get into my head. I was kind of managing the meth for a while, where you couldn't really tell that I was on it. It wasn't affecting my, mental status. I was just a prodger. I like to do art. I like to proj. And, but it was there that I thought people were starting to turn on me for, good reasons, because like I said, I had gotten turned into the police. And so it got out of hand. And that's when I decided to leave. And I met an escort on the computer, hung out with him, and then he became my boyfriend. And then I left there, and I thought I was going somewhere better, and it was actually a lot worse, because it was very abusive, both mentally and physically abusive relationship. And that's pretty much towards the end of where I was at. That's why I really didn't have a home, because every time we would get high, he'd want to sleep with other people. So he would end up kicking me out, and I would end up either waiting on the curb for it to all be over with so that I could go back into the house, or I would hook up with people online so I had a place to sleep.
Damn, honey. Whoa. That's rough.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I had met a friend earlier that week. He had said he was going to meetings. He was an acquaintance friend of mine from way back when I was out here for college a long time ago. And I called him up that Saturday morning, and I said, just take me to a meeting and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let me see what it's about. And it turned out, I stood up, I said I had 6 hours sober. The room went quite crazy with applause. I felt the love immediately. And afterwards, I definitely related to the speaker. People came up to me, wanting my phone number, just welcoming me. It felt completely different. It felt, it was the love that I was craving for out there that I didn't find. It was just, it was chaos and evil and demons and everything else was out there. And in here, it was sincere, it was love, it was help. It was definitely, I knew the only way I was going to get off this stuff was if I associated myself with people who were not doing it.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
So I immediately fell in love with the meetings, and I just couldn't wait to go back. As far as where I was going to stay, I didn't know what I was going to do. I honestly, when I came into the program, I had nothing but a backpack, a laptop, a cell phone, and what I was wearing on. That's all I owned. That's it.
Wow.
That is all I owned. So I just couch committed for a while, through, the grace of, really great people who let me stay on their couches. Then when a bed opened up at a sober living, I stayed there. I eventually got a job at a candle shop in West Hollywood. I took the bus everywhere. I also walked dogs, as a side gig. And then as soon as I was able to save up enough money, I was able to find a studio apartment. Then eventually moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Then eventually moved into a house that I own with a partner that doesn't beat me and isn't physically or mentally abusive.
Amazing, isn't it? The miracles. The miracles keep coming, don't they?
They do.
I
But anyways, I went back to school. I decided to go back to school, get my bachelor's degree. I graduated with honors, but I got a bachelor's degree in visual effects and motion graphics. So I did take an internship. I wasn't good enough. They let me go. But I have been a freelance graphic designer forever. And I've been getting, that's kind of like the side thing. But those kind of jobs don't come along as often as I would like, so that I can support myself. So, I take them whenever I get them, but in the meantime, I have to pick up something else.
Okay, it's all right. You're very talented, very talented. Since you've gotten sober, were you ever close to picking up again because of something that happened? Never.
No,
Once
and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. The thought,
Of course,
but never as far as calling somebody, looking for it, anything like that. It was just a thought that kind of came and went.
Okay.
But the reason I won't pick up again, and it's usually, I'll be honest, it's usually pot. I'll think about pot and I'll be like, oh, I wish I could just smoke some, weed. You know what I mean? I wish I could just smoke weed. But I know that I can't just smoke weed, because then that would mean, I'm no longer in this program. And if I'm no longer in this program, then what's going to stop me from doing meth? You know what I mean?
Okay.
It is the counting of the days. It is being a part of that, keeps me from not, and it's a higher power, of course, that keeps me from not using. But what really goes through my mind whenever anything like that happens, as you can probably see on my wall, there's a ton of Goldie Hawn movie posters in the background.
Yeah.
I love Goldie Hawn. Like, she's my everything. And when I had 1 year sober, there was a friend who threw my 1 year sobriety party at his house. And he had worked with her son on something. He's a casting agent. He worked with her son. He got in touch with her son, told her son my story, just wanted to get an autographed picture for me of her for my birthday. When she heard my story, she said, no, I'd much rather call him instead. She called me on my 1 year birthday to tell me how proud she is of me, how she knows how difficult it is to do what I'm doing, this and that. It's actually really a blur. I just know she said how proud she is of me, but the rest of it was all a blur of what we talked about. And it wasn't very long. It was for 5 minutes, but that's the first thing I think of when I think about going out. I don't want to piss on that gift that was given to me, because she is besides my mother, she is everything to me. Like,
that is amazing.
Yeah. So that's why I haven't picked up, I mean, yet. And I hope ever, like, you know, I can't predict the future.
And do you, I know because of, you know, the pandemic and everything, are you doing Zoom meetings?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, for the past 5 years, to be honest, I haven't gone to meetings. Like,
Okay.
I started distancing myself from meetings for one reason or another. Yeah, just 10 years, I was just like, oh, do I really need to go to a meeting? And plus, I was also busy with work, and
Okay.
I put work ahead of me. But with this whole pandemic, I've been able to do this Zoom meeting that I do at almost every night at 5:30, and it started to regenerate my program again. I started to get back into it and stuff. So
Isn't it
yeah,
crazy?
yeah, I don't think I'll ever go to a real meeting again. I really don't. I don't think the host of that meeting is going to ever either. So I might just do Zoom meetings all the time.
Yeah. Have you ever, or do you sponsor anybody, or have still, or have you in the past?
I've sponsored people in the past, and I have 2 sponsees now.
Right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because it's like, you know, people ask me this all the time. Well, what do you say to your sponsee? Like, what's the most important thing that you would say to your sponsee besides, you know, don't drink, don't drug, and go to meetings?
You know, I'm not one of those kind of militant sponsors.
Yep.
I'm kind of like, I suggest things, and I let them know that these are just suggestions and you can take them or leave them. You know what I mean? I'm not kind of like, you need to read the book.
Yeah.
I'm like, read the book. And if you read the book, then we can continue. Like, I have a sponsee right now who's stuck on his 4th step. I'm not going to be like, you have 1 week to do your 4th step.
Right.
It's got to be when they want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's got to, you know, to me, that's how it's got to be. That's kind of how, like, my sponsor did it with me. He wasn't very militant, but I wanted to do the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that makes a big difference if you want to do the work, as opposed to having to do the work.
Yeah. Stephen, thank you so much for doing this. Honestly, I'm so happy that you agreed to it, because I got to know you a little bit more. And you know, it's a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep doing what you're doing. You are super, super talented. And I don't just say that because I wouldn't say anything at all. Trust me when I say that. I just would be quiet about it. But super talented, and I keep doing it.
Thanks.
Because
I appreciate it.
I think that you are so, so talented. And I know this thing is just going to take off for you. I know it is. So be patient, my friend.
Of course.
Yeah, good. Nice to see you, darling.
It's good to see you.
Okay, honey. You take care of yourself. Thank you.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.